Hi everyone, here is my round 3 game from Leyland, and I was finally playing against someone low rated. In fact, I was playing the bottom seed, which was Andrew de Santos, which sounds like a Brazilian footballer's name, but he's from Preston, so I presume it isn't a Brazilian footballer. But he has an ECF of 117, but he was playing up by quite a lot of points there. So I presume he's a bit undergraded then if he's playing up, but only time will tell. Anyway, I was white and expected to win this game, and I played d4 and he played d5, c4, c6, and I was going to play the epic chess gambit, which is 3f3, but I bottled it and played knight c3, and then I played the most passive line of the Semi-Slav with e3, and we have a Meran in the end, which is supposed to be sharp. So after bishop e7, bishop d3, castles, and now this move d takes c4, which signals the start of the Meran. If you play queen c2 instead of bishop d3 on move 6, by the way, it's known as the anti-Meran. So bishop takes c4, and now you can play this like b5 advance, because the idea is that white's got a stronger centre, but black's got like this really good queenside pawn majority, which you can put to use by gaining the tempo on the bishop. But instead he plays knight bd7, and after rook e1, knight b6, bishop b3, and now I think c5 is the best move here, putting some pressure on white's centre. But he plays knight bd5, which I'm not too sure about, because I can kick it with e4, and now after he takes, b takes c3. I've got like a Grunfeld type centre, but it's like an improved version of Grunfeld, because black has a passive bishop on e7 instead of that monster bishop on g7 that bears down on d4 on the Grunfeld. But black can put pressure with the breaks c5 and e5. But he plays b6, which supports c5 more and prepares to fianchetto the bishop, which is hemmed in by the pawn on e6 because black can't play e5. And now I play queen b3, d3, sorry, bishop b7, and bishop c2. My idea is that black's practically forced to play g6, and then, because I'm threatening e5 to kick the knight away, and then if the knight moves, then queen takes h7 is mate. And then I can exploit the weakened dark squares around the black king. And after a long think of about 15 minutes, I decided to play put the bishop on f4 rather than h6, provoking knight h5, and now put it on h6. Because I expected him to play knight g7, which I think is inaccurate. I think he should have just moved the rook and asked my bishop what it's doing there. But he plays knight g7, which I was happy about, because not only is the knight pinned, but f5 would be a very good square, but my pawn's protecting it. And also, when the knight was on f6, it could come into d5 anytime I played e5. So I was quite happy now. And I decided to try and exploit the weakened dark squares with the move h3, which has this knight maneuver. I mean, I could play knight e5 to g4 and move quicker, but I didn't want to take away the option of playing e5, so I devoted this extra move, and I thought black's not got any counterplay. But maybe rook a d1 is better, bringing the final piece into the game, and white's got a small advantage here. But instead I play h3, queen c7, and now I think best is to drop the queen back, and after c5 to play d5, e takes d5, c takes d5, bishop d6, and c4, and white's got a protected passed pawn, and black doesn't have too much in return for it, and his bishop's hemmed in, and white's a bit better here. But instead I play knight h2, continue with my plan, and now he plays rook fd8. The idea is to play c5 and put some pressure on my strong Grunfeld pawn centre. And now I play knight g4, and now he plays c5. And here I should have dropped the bishop back to d2 to keep an advantage. After takes, the idea to drop back is to clear the h6 square for the knight, and then to throw this check in. Can't go to h8 because of knight takes f7 check, so king f8 is forced, and now after c takes d4, bishop c5, bishop e3, my strong pawn centre is under some pressure, but it's under no more pressure than in the Grunfeld, and I can always support e4 with f3, which I'm sure you know I like that move. And white's better here, but instead I made an absolutely horrific blunder with f4. I thought playing against the low rated I'm going to lash out with this aggressive looking move, but instead I'm going to be fatally exposed by the weaknesses around my king now. If you want to try and spot a move for black which wins a pawn, then please stop the video now. And I saw this practically as soon as I'd moved, and I was like, oh no. And I went for a walk around play now, waiting for him to play it, and he did. c takes d4, c takes d4, and bishop c5. The pawn's attacked twice now. It can't be defended. He's also threatening bishop takes d4 check, winning the exchange. He can also take with a rook, exposing some discoveries. My king is caught on a nasty pin. Everything's like pinned, and I'm losing material. Not the best way to play against someone 24 points lower. What makes it worse is that he said I could have a quick draw at the start because I think he wanted to go to some museum or something. Yeah, the Congress, and but in the end, that's how I wanted to play. By the way, rook takes d. We went through this game at this school of chess I've been going to today, and guy in charge pointed out rook takes d4 as being stronger, but I actually managed to refute it with the aid of Houdini. You play queen takes d4, and after bishop c5, this looks hopeless for white. But however, you might notice that there is potential for a fork on e8 and a double check. So the way to get out is knight f6 check. Now if king f8 and king h8 and king f8 both lead to the same thing, where king h8, knight bishop takes g7 check, king takes g7, and now the black queen and king are in a bad position, and knight e8 double check wins the black queen, and now my queen drops. And after king h1, now white is a rook up, but black can win a piece back with rook c8 skewering the knight and bishop, but even then white's up the exchange for a pawn and should win. So rook takes d4 actually doesn't work due to this long combination of tactics, but he plays the bishop c5, which is correct, and now I move my king away. And after bishop takes d4, I decide to just let my rook drop, but I think I'm losing the rook anyway. Say rook a c1, bishop b2, queen e3, bishop takes, rook takes, and I've got no compensation for the dead material except the fact that I've got the bishop pair and black hasn't. And I've also got a dark square bishop, and there's some weaknesses around black's king, but it's practically lost after, say, queen c5. I drop the queen back to e2, and now knight h5 is immediately decisive, threatening knight g3 and knight takes f4, as well as my rook being on pre. But he plays bishop c3, trying to play rook d2 and torture me even more. I play rook a d1, takes, knight h5, queen f2, queen c3, and I'm lost here. Now he's going to infiltrate with his rooks, and I lashed out here with queen h4, trying to exploit these weak and dark squares, and in fact the bishop is immune. If queen takes c2, then knight f6 check. If knight takes f6, and after queen takes f6, there is no way to stop mate on g7, except to give up the queen. So king h8 is forced, and now knight takes h5, where the knight is immune due to queen f6 to g7 mate, and I'm right back in the game now, and in fact I'm winning. Now queen c3 and queen b2 are both met by bishop g5, and queen c3 is the better of the two, but after bishop g5 I think the queen's dropping here, and black's losing. I think queen c3 might be better because it has some pressure on the white rook, but they're both losing. Another way for black to win is knight g3 check, king h2, and now queen takes e1. A simpler winning. Even when I take the knight back, I'm going to be a rook down, so therefore that would be resignable. Instead he plays rook d2, and after bishop b3 he completely blunders with queen g3, and now I have a forced win here, and if you want to try and spot it, please stop the video now. By the way, before I show you it, the way for black to win this position, which is winning by about 6 pawns according to Houdini, is knight g3 check, knight g3 check, king h2, and now knight f5, where the knight is immune due to rook takes g2 check, and after knight f6 check, king h8, and now white has got no attack now, and in fact a piece drops off after this, and rook behind it's lost. However, he does this, queen g3 is a very tempting move because not only does it threaten mate, but also seems to force the queens off. And so here's the win. I play, well, knight f6 check. First of all, the best black has actually here is to take the knight, and after queen takes g3, white's a rook queen has a queen for a rook and winning. That's the best though. If king h8, then this move bishop g7 check. The bishop can be taken, has to be taken in one of two ways. If the knight takes, then we have a mate on h7. If the king takes, then we have knight takes h5 check, and now the black queen will fall. And now white's just winning this easily. In fact, black could compound this misery by going to h6 or f6, allowing queen g5 mate. Amazing. However, I did not spot any of this, and I actually resigned in this position, believe it or not. I just thought that I was going to be in the exchange and a pawn down in endgame, so I just gave up. Didn't see this win at all. Spent all the time on my clock trying to motivate myself to resign. Completely missed it. Not even a hard tactic. Don't even know what happened there. Resigning in a winning position when Houdini gave an evaluation of over 8 pawns. I was just too demoralised, I think, by that blunder, and I'd made defeat and failed to spot this resource which would have won me the game. Incredible. But you gotta laugh. Anyway, it's amazing how a blunder can force resignation. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this game with this dramatic twist at the end. Round 4, 5 and 6 will come tomorrow and Thursday. I've also got the Manchester Stock Congress Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I'll do games on them, videos on them. Anyway, please leave any comments and thoughts. Thanks very much.